Thank you for your patience, everyone. So grateful. So I'm so excited to present to you because this is something very dear to my heart, and I've been studying branding for I don't know, over 20 years now, quite a long time. But I have, in my journey, I've come a long way through looking at seeing branding in different lenses. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Joaquin Phoenix, an actor. As human beings, we're so innovative, creative, and ingenious when we use love and compassion as our guiding principles. We can create and implement systems of change that are beneficial to all sentient beings and to the environment. So this is my latest positioning in my own brand. But before we come to that, last week you will notice, you remember that in Pernita's presentation, we had the graphic. And this is more about talking about conscious branding in a different areas and how it looks in an organization and what are the values for having a conscious business. And so this time I will be focusing on the growth. So some of this is very much to do with the brand. I bring this up because the growth, return of investment, and impact, there's a lot to do with technologies, a lot to do with refining risk management, improving financial performance, but also a lot comes from the creative initiatives of the people, the founders of this organization. So a lot of the time, the values come from the people who are leading the organization, and the brand extends from the creators of the company to the employees of the company. And then from the employees, it reflects out into the world to the target audience and the clients of a company or a business, right? So the brand influences all across this spectrum. And having a conscious brand helps people with generally not so much in sales in the long term. In terms of marketing, it is the brand consciousness or conscious brands are a long-term investment for your company. It is really at the core of everything. So that brings me to what is branding. So assuming that a lot of people associate branding with like their logo design, their collaterals, social media marketing, and etc. But branding kind of goes a little under the radar here because it almost like the branding, you can see it as an underlaying pattern of something. And it kind of goes beyond what you do and what your services is or how you're presenting your services to where do they even come from? How do they even appear? Like what makes it a thing? So I've been researching and trying to understand what makes a thing concept for a long time. And I've been reflecting on it through meditation, through my own spiritual journey. And I came to look at things in a more, natural way. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the sacred geometry. It's basically, if you read about unity principle, that everything created in this world comes from this one united pattern. So we are all expression of this united pattern. And this pattern kind of goes under everything that is being created in this world. And this creation is interesting because we define creation with different elements. So in our general way of looking at life, we define creation through the 5 elements. It's very, very much very traditional way of looking at what makes it a real living thing through the 5 elements, like the earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And when you look at the whole thing, branding is really not different than this. So as a tree or a person is a person, a tree is a tree, what makes a cat is is branding itself. So I started studying what makes a brand unique, what makes it that particular thing, further than, it's the cat is doing a service, it's being a cat, it's catching mouse, but what makes this particular cat unique? And I believe that we all have unique purpose and unique qualities, and therefore every business has unique purpose, unique qualities, and a unique mission to serve the planet. So that's where I go from start when I'm starting to define branding. And it feels like such a big concept, and it is very vague in its expression, but that's sort of where the process starts. And I will kind of give you a little bit of experience of how this could, like, you can make this knowledge useful for your own brand. So conscious branding is a value-based branding. You can call it very mission-driven branding. So branding itself, like I said, it starts from the core values. It is the experiences, the customer experience or the employee experience. It's the service, products and services. It's the way we operate, we communicate. It kind of ties into this whole umbrella of things. And in this graphic, you can see in conscious business, purpose is very strong. And when we say branding, I mean, we can talk about personal branding versus a company branding, but I'm talking about it as a general term. So you can apply this to a personal brand as well. So purpose is in the center of everything. And what makes purpose, how do you know that you're on purpose, is something that I would like to take you on a journey today to help you discover. Perhaps you can see if you're on purpose, or how do you know you're on purpose with yourself, right? So around this center purpose, we have love, joy, flow, experience, values, and fulfillment. So these elements appear in the sense of purpose, all of them, generally. And it is then affects your vision. It gives you a mission. It affects the way you operate in this world. It affects the way you communicate, or the way the products and services you design. And yeah, and then your passion. Oops. Sorry, my cat is just in my way all the time. Today is one of those days. So one of the ways I look at it, this is going to be a little bit more simplified, don't worry. So I have a journal. I studied 5 elements through my yoga practice a long time. I've been a yoga teacher for 5 years, a martial arts practitioner for, over a decade now. So I've been studying qi, the energy, the prana. In Chinese, they call it qi. In yoga tradition, they call it the prana. And all of these traditions start explaining the world, the feelings, and the reality through the elements. And the 5 elements are goes from a physical to a little bit more esoteric every time. And it kind of covers a different aspect of life. So I started looking at brands perhaps through the eyes of the elements. And I started discovering that earth is very much what makes it a core. It's all the services, your pricing, the way you operate in this world, your logistics and everything. The water element is the more emotional side, so it's softer, more fluid. It's the emotional layer. The fire is more about your purpose, your drives. And air is the way you kind of interact and communicate with your surrounding, with your customers, within your company. And ether is the element of the spirit, which kind of goes deeper into when you're a conscious business, this becomes more alive. So most of the companies is generally just brand themselves with the physical and the emotional. The physical it's very basic. Like when companies are just branding themselves based on values, They target, like Walmart, for example. Sure, it's a family-owned company, but they're just competing with their pricing and just being available everywhere. So it's just very much like if you're really competing, setting yourself up with your pricing, with the quality or amount of products you use, like very products way, very logistic based, then you kind of brand yourself in the physical, like FedEx, for example, or some, yeah, any, let's see if I can, Canada Trust. They're very physical. They talk about logistics and they brand themselves through that logistics umbrella. Emotional layer, a lot of beauty brands, fashion brands use the emotional layer to brand themselves. They add that kind of, Nike is an excellent example. They brand themselves through a feeling of just do it. And it's actually, you can see just do it is very fire element. They are focusing on an active tagline to create that feeling of drive, the move, the energy. So the energy through their logo, the shape of the logo, their tagline, it's all about that movement. So they're using that emotional connection further than the physical. So physical is a little bit more solid, grounded. You can talk about your securities. A lot of finance uses the physical layer. Emotional layer is a little bit more subtle on top of that kind of physical branding. But I think there is now a conscious layer, or you can call it the spirit layer or purpose layer, whatever you want to call it. So this purpose layer is sort of like, I see some companies are tapping into this. Not everybody yet is doing it. And it is, I think, very important. All the value-driven companies that we see out there, or the companies started to kind of tap into this aspect now to set themselves apart, is they're bringing their core values in front rather than tapping into what their customers wants to feel, because I feel like the spirit, the conscious layer, and then the first two layers can be manipulated and fabricated very easily. I've worked in advertising agency, and that's one of the reasons I left, because a lot of those things we just fabricate. We think that, oh, this is a cool brand, this is a great idea, without even knowing if it is true or not. We would just brand the company the way it's supposed to, in our opinion, look good and cool, and we present it that way. And there's no legal obligations that we should be realistic about it, which was very in alignment with my own personal values, because I'm like, okay, we're writing these stories, making these designs, but they don't align with what the company really is, and nobody cares apparently. But I cared. So conscious layer is more about, it's harder to lie about your conscious layer because it comes from the people within. And when it comes from within, it has the invincible power because it's not fabricated. It's not driven by any sort of like financial thing. It's driven within the creators' hearts and their mission. And when they fire themselves up with this mission from inside, then that energy kind of translates into their customers, their products, their employees, their team. They all feel that energy and they all follow that heartfelt mission. So that's sort of the conscious layer. And these are some of the questions that I will ask you to see if you're on brand, if your brand or your business is really on purpose or you are on the right track. So the first question is, what do you love to do? And I think a lot of us, including me for the longest time, have dismissed this because we kind of stumble on our businesses sometimes. You know, I wanted to be an artist. At the time, my parents were like, well, you got to make money. So you got to go to the design school to make money. Therefore, I ended up doing graphic design. So I kind of stumbled on it, but then it kind of resembled what I love to do. So some people don't even get to choose that. So I encourage you to seek what you truly love to do and bring that into the current occupation that you're doing. What is the value you can add to others in your community? I think everybody here is very clear about this. That's why you're all here. So, but define the actual values if you can, if it's possible for you. Maybe 1, 2, or 3, up to 3 values that you really separate yourself from others. And you can do these right now as I'm talking if they come up, or you can do them later, however you wish. You can take the questions down. So while doing that, while doing what you love to do and the value that you add to others, how can you help the planet? So further away from, further than personal and service-based, this is more about now we're bringing in the environment and the planet into the picture. And this is important because I think Pernita talks a lot about transcendence, right? When we start letting go of that self importance or self gain, and then start serving the people or serving the planet. Serving the people comes natural to a lot of people, but including the planet in that triangle doesn't unfortunately come intuitive to all businesses. They seem to kind of ignore that, but this is also a changing trend. And I think soon, very, very soon, we're going to see this develop. We are already seeing with a lot of brands putting the sustainability practices in their brand. So almost all the brands that Pernita and I have been researching, starting putting that, what is their sustainable practices? So that's bringing the people, the planet, and the profit together. What kind of future do you want to create? So, and are you on the path of creating this future? Is your business really being part of this? And I think, again, thinking about everybody who's here today, you guys definitely are. I can tell you that. Are you operating and communicating in alignment with your vision and values? That's often also we should always check in, and I believe that that's the value of this community, is that we get to keep each other in alignment, because not always, sometimes some other circumstances come in our way and we might see or have to make decisions out of our alignment, or we feel like we're pushed to do those decisions. However, we don't. Nobody can tell us what to think. Nobody can tell us what to do. So it's our choice to stay in alignment with our vision and with our values at all times. And this is where I finish with this little presentation. So conscious businesses must go beyond sustainability and philosophy of do no harm to restoring the self-renewing integrity of the earth. Again, transcendence, the doing no harm is almost like being harmless, or being cruelty free. We're talking about being zero waste, no footprint. But I think we're at a time a step further than that. We are at a time of we are responsible of actually helping build something better, a better world, a better nature. So just recycling, I think when we talk about conscious business, just this recycling, we have like a recycling policy or waste management. We're not doing any footprint, leaving any footprint is a little bit of old school. And I think once we think about consciousness, we should actually physically act on creating these new ways of adding value. Cleaning the waters, whether it's helping educating children, whether it's helping women in the developing countries, whatever that may be, I think it's very important for brands and businesses take action on positive growth and positive change. And I believe that makes a bit brand conscious. I think that's about it. So if you want to go into those questions, if that kind of enticed you a little bit, I self-published this journal 2 years ago. I haven't been doing much marketing about it, but it's on Amazon. I know Amazon is not the most popular platform, but it allowed me to kind of self-publish myself. So this is available there if you would like to support me or want to kind of help yourself go deeper with the questions. My branding journal is out there. So yeah, and oops, no, that's it. That's all. That's all. And I will stop sharing and get some questions.